So we're on our way to Gazer. I want to go to the recycle place because I like it. I like to go there. I'm looking for an alarm clock that's not going to be... I bought this alarm, I nearly said alarm. I bought this alarm clock for... because I have to get up and I have to do 4 days work every week, which has saved me enormously. I mean, I was really in trouble. I didn't know how I was going to eat or survive or, you know, pay for anything at all. I've been in that situation before. I don't want to do it again. And so I've got 4 full days every week on a farm for 4 months. And here is Le Plan. And so I can't remember what I was talking about. This is tiny little village, which is quite, they're all quite sort of almost, you know, they have medieval parts and you know, there's no money here, so they've all been sort of updated. There's a postwoman, and so they've all been, they haven't been updated, so you've got all these kind of really old sort of medieval buildings, you know. It's a bit like going to, I can't even remember the name of the place in England where I think Shakespeare had a hot dog stand or something like that, and we used to go and visit places like that where I lived in England. It was really nice. And so I'm really delighted that over the last year perhaps I've become more myself here. And I don't feel, you know, I mean, it's a horrible feeling to feel like you're an alien all the time and you're totally alone. And you can't really speak the language. It's really, really not something you want to do. It's so isolating and so miserable. And so really it's only kind of recently that, you know, over the last year that I've actually felt any sense at all of being able to enjoy myself and feel any kind of feeling of sort of connection and not feeling, you know, like I don't belong here and that this is nothing to do with me, and because the culture is so different. The French culture is very different to the English culture, and I much prefer the English culture. A lot of people are not very into the French culture, so you look kind of for individualism, individuals that are nice in France, because the kind of mass culture is pretty strange, and it's a real test because it changes you. Because what it is, get out my bloody way. Because what it is that it's oh god, I can't remember what I was talking about now. Something to do with French culture, anyway. We are not. You know, for me, I'm a real victim of. Not a victim, but I really do get attached to things. So, you know, for example, you know, lounging around, lazing around in the bathtub with Radio 4 on a Sunday afternoon, to me, makes me feel great, you know, I feel happy. You know, I loved the house we lived in London, in East Finchley, because I was born in East Finchley, and so I have all these memories of East Finchley, with my grandparents, and my uncles and aunts and all this. And I love East Finchley, and of course now East Finchley represents doom and death and massive abuse of my goodwill by Karen's father and Karen, you know, so now it's like she's destroyed part of my history. And so what's happened is that you sort of learn that these things are kind of illusions that we hold on to as a kind of way of knowing who we are and how we feel, you know, and that's important, how we feel. And I'm extremely sensitive, so, you know, in a way this is like I was in England, and one day it was raining really heavily, and on the back doorstep there was a massive frog, and I knew it was a sign. I knew that there was some kind of synchronistic thing going on. So So basically I looked up the mythology of the frog, and the mythology of it was that the frog, when it's tiny, I don't know if it's when it's a tadpole or going into a frog, or whether it's a tiny frog going into a bigger frog, but it goes through enormous pain to become an adult. So I kind of knew at that time I was in enormous pain, having had, 2 suicides on my hands, and Karen's father stealing my £200,000 worth of the house, my share, which is how much that's worth, and having no conscience about it whatsoever. He's an absolutely ruthless psychopath, and so is Karen, evidently, because she's now done the same, having convinced me that it's safe to come to France and that I have my share of the house. Once I'm out of sight, she's just grabbing the whole thing and then obviously blaming me for the whole thing. And so that's a really nasty trick that she's done. And so really a lot of the lesson here has been that we are not, and Vina said this to me in an email the other day, and I didn't really reply in a way that will give her any idea that I already know this, she's just trying to be helpful, which is nice. And so basically, it's a question of attachments and reducing attachments and understanding that we don't have to feel attached to things in the past. What's going on? And so as a result of that, we can live much more in the current moment. But there's no doubt about it that we all do have attachments. So you will find there are some people that tell you, oh, well, you are not this, you are not the past, you are not that. And then you'll find that they have children, and of course they are attached to their children. If somebody came along, buggered one of their children and killed them, they would be unhappy for a very long time. And yet, some of these people will pretend that they understand the whole spiritual thing of non-attachment, and we are not our memories, and blah 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 blah, and all this. And of course, they will be sort of pretending that they've got it sussed. And of course, we're all very similar, really. I didn't know there was a market here on Saturday, and so it's been very good for me, very painful, but very good. Of course, I'm quite lonely, but then I don't think I'll go for another relationship again. I don't think I want that, Why are these people driving so slowly? I think it's because they've been so flummoxed by the fact that they've got to take another route that they're now going at 2 miles an hour, So anyway, this is Kazer, so I'm here to go to the recycle place. It's a really lovely day. I'm really happy to have a day off. I'm feeling quite exhausted and I've got a bit of a headache, but generally I'm really much happier than I have been for a long time, and I just wish you were here to see it. Okay, night.